Hello, everyone. Welcome to Todd Talks. I am joined by Mr. Jim Davis of WebDM. This is a show where we talk about, well, it seems like this is a show where we only talk about Unearthed Arcana, but it's not a bad thing. So we're talking about the fighter, rogue, and wizard, which are basically another answer to psionics. So we already saw something like this in Aberrant Mind Sorcerer, which, you know, naturally, if you are an old school fan of psionics, sorcery points kind of fit into that old way of doing psionics. Point-based system. If, however, you still were desperate to do that, there are alternate rules than DMG. So this fighter, rogue, and wizard is very interesting to me, and I've been a fan of psionics since first edition, primarily second edition. The Psionics Handbook was super cool and super awesome. However, I'm going to let you know right now, as big of a fan of as I've always been of psionics, they have always been overpowered. And we all have to be okay with that.
Yeah, it's like famously contentious through like every edition of D&D, right? Like whether it was the roll percentile chance to see if you're just happen to have psychic power on top of your class.
Oh yes, that's
right.
Yeah, you didn't even know. Remember when you didn't have a choice?
Yeah, right. Or like Dark Sun, where like every plant was psionic as well.
Yeah, everything had to be psionic on Dark Sun because magic had destroyed the world.
Yeah, and so like to me, unlike say spell casting, which you can look at say original D&D, follow it through all the versions of basic, then first, second, third, even fourth, right? There's still some of that there with the fact that the wizard can swap out some of their daily powers and like. There's a progression, there's a through line and then evolution. Whereas I see like psionics is like every edition is like, we're just scrape it. No, we're going back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
And I like that 5th edition has firmly said, nope, psionics and magic are like this. They're not these two separate things like they've been. And, you know, and they're not like trying to, you know, they're trying to fit it in with what I see as like the cosmology of the implied setting, not just Forgotten Realms, which is D&D as a fantasy genre, and also into the mechanical framework of 5th edition, which I always felt like the mystic existed outside of.
The mystic in UA previously was overpowered, and yeah,
agreed. Yes,
it was just overwhelmingly overpowered and non-functional in that sense. Psionics have always had a place in D&D. I love them. I know if you're a fan of Dark Sun, you know, there is so much tied into the concept that magic destroyed the world and magic is forbidden or flat out cannot be used. Whereas psionics is the only way you can have these cool abilities on that world. I don't know that this negates that in any way necessarily. I think it's different sources of magic. So not unlike the sorcerer in the sense that it's coming from yourself. I think this is coming from your mind and how your mind is structured, perhaps.
Oh, certainly.
It's a good way. And I think that's why these are primarily going to be intelligence-based.
I kind of look at it like, to me, if I look at sort of the types of magic that are you know, accessible to characters in D&D worlds, I almost look at it like first there was druidic magic, which drew upon like the primal elements of the world, the animals, things like that, and then maybe
like building blocks of magic.
Yeah, and then like maybe like divine magic.
They got one foot. They got 1 foot in the arcane and 1 foot firmly in the divine.
Oh yeah, and then it's like I can see divine coming next is like the gods make more of their presence known in the world, and then arcane maybe comes last because it's like wrestling the secrets of creation or whatever.
Yeah, to me, like math. It's the mathematics of it.
But it's like if you follow that progression of like, okay, first I tap into something primal, or I'm a conduit for the gods. Now it's either something I study, or is within me, or is I can borrow from others in a more contractual kind of way. Like psionics is just the next step of like, I don't need the components anymore. Yeah. Like with these crutches that we've been having to deal with, verbal components, little pieces of stuff that we find everywhere. We don't have to worry about that. We can just produce the effect with our minds. And in that sense, I really like the 5th edition take on it. And I just, to me, I kept telling Pruitt, you better play as much of that Mystic as you can, because I do not think this is going to make it into a rule book.
enjoy while it lasts, buddy.
Right.
Enjoy your. I mean, Pruitt even admitted that.
Yeah. I would say that I've had the opportunity to play each of the 3 prior playtest versions of the Mystic.
Right.
Back when it was like the 5 level, and then I think the 10, and then finally the 20.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at each step, there came a moment where I was like, we're going to finish this because I want to see how it plays out. But like, this character makes designing, particularly like combat challenges, difficult, because I would have to include elements in that fight to challenge them that would wipe the floor with everyone else. And those are very kind of like, if you're running a beer and pretzels game with friends, and they don't care if a character just accidentally dies, they'll make a new one or get brought back or something. That's fine, but not everybody runs games like that.
Yeah.
And so I kind of thought the prior incarnations just, I don't know, they seem like they were testing out something, but maybe not the whole thing.
Yeah, I do like this. I think this is more elegant. I know there are a lot of people who are salty about this. I however, am not. I think it's good to be able to counterspell some psionic like abilities. They've certainly been moving in this direction for quite some time already in their structuring of the monster manual. Let's look at Psychic Warrior. Let's just kind of get into the subclasses. I like Psychic Warrior a lot. Yeah. I think it's super fun. It gives the fighter something to do with his bonus action. His or her bonus action is now has a little bit of spice when it comes to like knocking people around. They get Mage Hand, which is very appropriate. And again, I spoke with Jeremy Crawford, and this is the Darth Vader. This is the Darth Vader subclass. He said more Vader, put more Vader up again. And he did so. So we've got really cool things like psychic armament. This allows you to when a creature you can see within 30 feet of you takes damage, you can use your reaction and roll 1d10 and reduce that damage. It's not overpowered. Really,
it's great for like low level stuff though, right? Like that part of it'll get you through like the first couple of tiers. I think you'd start to see a drop off afterwards. Even
the increase to 1d12 at level 10 seems a little weak.
Yeah, I might at level 10 go like start adding your fighter level to that d10 roll or something like that. You know what I mean? To make it compatible with tiers.
Because then you're surviving fireball and stuff like that.
Possibly. Yeah. Because I mean, you're taking this in lieu of say the D4 damage, extra D4 or D6 damage around. So like you're having to make a choice at some point, and I do think like just give it a little boost.
I mean, as a warrior, as a fighter, you are kind of a tank in terms of hit points. So you're not being hurt.
Sure.
Very much by any means. Oh, and this is a brief aside about the Artificer. I need to give a shout out to Dan Dillon. He is correct in the fact that the Artificer, for specifically the Alchemist, can use spell slots to make a specific type of potion.
Nice.
That is the function. So if you do want to go healing, or you want to have a specific effect, it will not be so random. And as an example of your focus, and that way you can stockpile a bunch of potions and be ready, and different kinds of chemicals. So that's a very good point about the Alchemist.
Yes.
But so back to the Psychic Warrior. I love it. I do like it having Mage Hand quite a bit. I think that's really fun. That's kind of what you want with that Darth Vader type class, that Dark Jedi. And you can also augment your strikes at 3rd level. You're getting a lot at 3rd level.
Yeah, I think it's really sort of front loaded in that. And I think that's kind of fine, because individually, I don't see any one of these as being like overpowered or anything, but taken as a whole, they give you it's distinct from the Eldritch Knight, right? We didn't just get a subclass that had a bunch of spell slots and here's a bunch of new spells. They're trying to go for something different. And Jedi was what the first thing that I thought, and was like, this is the class that's meant to be that that master of self. It's kind of like runs in parallel or tandem to the monk, but is different enough. They're weapon users and fighters, and absolutely,
I agree. And I feel like this flavor fits for a fighter more so than a monk. I know people are like, well, should it really be the monk? I think monk might have like telekinesis is, it just kind of makes more sense for a fighter for me. Like if you're gonna put psionics onto every subclass,
yeah,
I feel like the fighter is gonna be the telekinetic one.
Yeah, I think there's legacy reasons for it, going back to at least third edition. I'm not sure what the kind of psychic warrior was like before then.
I see a psionic monk be able to morph their bodies and stretch and do honestly, a lot of that type of psionic ability.
I mean, for one, being able to like limb stretch would be awesome. But I kind of see the astral what is it? The astral's not astral soul, but the astral. Right. I see them as the psionic monk, right? Like they're attacking your spirit.
That's true. That's true.
So in that sense, I see parallels.
That might already be kind of their answer for the monk. So at 7th level, we get psionic, new psionic warrior feature. It's strength of mind. As a bonus action, you can lash out at a character you can see within 20 feet of you. You can force them to make a strength saving throw. And it's against your intelligence. They can get, you can do 2d6 force damage plus your intelligence modifier and move them 15 feet directly towards you or away from you.
Yeah,
this is super fun.
I like this. Strength of mind was what sold me on this. Was like, oh yeah, that's a lot of fun, because it's like it's one of those things where capturing the essence of a tank in like the sort of party role sense has always been kind of difficult. There a lot of times it's like an unspoken agreement between the tank and the DM. Like, I'm going to attack you more often, kind of. But like this gives you a way that's not like protection focused, where it's like, I'm going to use my shield. It's like, no, you got to get off that guy. Come over here again and fight me, or take a jump off this bridge.
It's a very lovely ability.
I like it.
It makes me very, very happy. I want to pair this with my my wife's warlock, because then I can see, because I do I do the bonus action. I knock it back 15 feet. She knocks it back another 10 feet unopposed. Mine can't be counterspelled, by the way. So
right.
And we've like, if we're in a cliff fight, forget it.
Sure. Yeah.
They're having to make saving throws left and right. They're gonna fail one of them.
What's
the saving throw? There is no saving throw.
There's no saving throw for Eldritch Blast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's fun that it's against strength. So this does give you like some power over spellcasters and a couple of
certainly.
Like, I mean, and Hexblades even. Like this is kind of like a fighter who can be like, okay, let's clear your Hexblade.
Yeah.
Stay away. No,
get out of here.
Shoot you with my crossbow.
Get out of here. Let's see.
It's got. I think it's lovely. I think please don't nerf that. I love it.
I do. It reinforces it, and if we're talking like if Jedi is the kind of archetype we're trying to invoke, then having a telekinetic push, having something where they reach out and whatever. If anything, I would love to see like an augment later on that makes it into like a cone or something.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
If you want to know everything about the Psychic Warrior, I have the perfect video for you. One, my interview with Jeremy Crawford. Or you could look up Darth Vader's scene from Rogue One, which I inadvertently sent to Mr. Jim instead of a link to this actual show. Very end of Rogue One, when Darth Vader is murdering everyone in that hallway, all of those abilities are used in this.
Easily, yeah.
They all exist in this. Just get yourself a flame sword, man, and you're good to go. So Telekinetic Bulwark. This is the weirdest named feature I've seen in a while. When you take an action, you can forego one of your attacks to project a bastion of psionic power. I love that it's one of your attacks. It's a 10-foot radius. It lasts up to 1 minute. It provides, and this is the thing I am pretty lazy about as a DM, half cover and advantage on saving throws. I don't use a lot of hack. I don't use a lot of cover rules.
You don't use a lot of cover. I use them a lot just because it's annoying and low level for like the move, shoot, move and scoot, or whatever they call it. I have some questions about it because it's like, like, can I combine that with the artillerists half cover option to create total cover.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Does 2 half covers make a whole?
Right.
Yeah.
Things like that. Or like, can someone duck behind it? Like where does the half cover portion come from?
Yeah.
Because that interfaces with like sharpshooter or spell sniper, things like that. That would negate that bonus. So I'm kind of curious. I want to know just in the fiction where it exists. It's a cool ability, but it's not rooted yet in sort of a game world in my mind yet. Although I don't know if you ever played the end of Mass Effect 2. Or did you ever play Mass Effect 2, like the end of it?
Oh, I played all of the Mass Effects multiple times.
Yes, so as well one should. That scene, where you're sort of like going through the ship, and the whoever your biotic is has to keep everything sort of at bay.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
that may be kind of the same image that they're.
I can see that. Yeah. Oh, that was a good scene. God, the end of Mass Effect 2 was just. Make that a film.
Easily.
Please make Mass Effect 2 a film. Also, Mass Effect 1 was great because it had you could actually talk your way out of the boss fight.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think that's really cool. I like the fact it gives everyone an advantage on strength checks. I mean, I see where they're going with it, and I see they really want that kind of like Vader stopping the laser blast kind of thing that's happening here, and you're essentially doing that with this ability or just bubbling your group.
And it's sort of like if you would want to bring a psychic warrior to fight another psychic warrior, right? Like, that's I see that as well as sort of like so that your guys don't get pushed around. Again,
this follows that philosophy of making sure that all these subclasses have something they can do for somebody else, and we've got 2 abilities now with this psychic warrior that are along those lines. I like that quite a bit. Definitely. This seems just fun. This just seems fun and relaxing to me of a character to play. Like, I get this character. I know who this character is.
Yeah, I'm immediately imagining like a Githyanki pirate that was abandoned on some planet somewhere. And it's like, well, I gotta learn to live with these people. Well, that's the character I would play.
I'm introducing.
You have a different one.
I have a very edgelord, creepy creep. An old Star Wars character of mine, actually.
Ooh,
yeah. So, like, for some reason, my naming convention is always things that end with N. I don't know what's wrong with my brain and why that is, but yeah. So, I have a character named Soren, who is a.
Is Edgelord like a subclass of Sith Lord? Then
it is. It's actually the same. It's the same subclass. It's all one subclass. It depends what era you're in.
Right.
They are Lords of the Edge. Let's see. Agonizing Strikes. Your attacks can now channel psychic agony. Oh, I was going to say energy, but agony is way better. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can deal an extra 2d10 psychic damage to your target. Or make a Constitution saving throw. And unless it succeeds, the target falls prone. The Hexblades get this kind of early. You get it later on, but you should get it later on. You're a fighter.
Exactly, right? Like, you're going to get more attacks overall. To me, this is the payoff for kind of having to deal with the D4 and the D6 from Psionic Armament. Because it's like, it's not that great. Certainly not like Lethal Strikes was for the Immortal. You had like an extra D10 per attack, at least.
Right.
But it's sort of like a payoff, right? Like, you've got these sort of minor abilities over on, and you hone it, and now you're dealing out the hurt.
You can use this as many times as your intelligence modifier.
Yeah, and this is, it's a mad class, right? Like, it just, you're always gonna be, do I have enough con? Is my defense up?
I like that though. Yeah. I like mad classes. Don't want one feature. Like, I
don't care for single attribute classes myself either.
No. And then finally at 18th level, if that wasn't enough, the power of your mind suffuses your entire being. And you can gain one of the following benefits. You can start, you can gain up to 10 hit points every round. You can it's terrifying. Your walking speed increases by 10 feet. It's one of these though. You have to choose one, or do you get
all of them? You get all of them. You get. Okay,
I was going to say, because why would you choose walking speed?
Oh, sure,
10 feet over
especially at 18th level. Now you get all of this. I was hoping for like a jump or something, right? Like if this is the Jedi Master, this is where I was hoping for something like you can, you get jump for free or something where they're, that you can pull a Yoda versus Palpatine fight.
Yeah, I see that, but wow. 10 hit. I mean, you are a juggernaut. I mean, I think of the Juggernaut literally from Star Wars: The Old Republic, which is a great game.
Sure, yeah.
And PvP is fantastic. So, you are a monster. This is a great capstone. I think this is really fun. Yeah,
especially if you're using your D12 to mitigate damage that you're taking around as well. Yeah.
You're going toe to toe with a paladin.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have smite, but you're hitting like so much.
Yeah, the one thing about this fighter subclass that I found interesting is like you're really having to balance your long rest and short rest recharges, because it's like fighter is usually one of those that's like, all right, give me a short rest, I'll be okay,
Yeah.
But you've got a lot of things that key off of long rest recharge. Although I think it's really kind of cool that Telekinetic Bulwark recharges when you take your second wind. Like, I like that interplay between
I
features.
Didn't notice that. Oh, that's lovely.
I'd like to see more of that. That's really cool.
Yeah. And they've been good about that.
Yeah.
Using wild shape and stuff for other things that you might want to use.
Certainly, yeah. And so, like, in that sense, I could see it offers a different experience in playing a fighter, maybe. I haven't really played an Eldritch Knight, so I'm not sure if it's comparable to that. But
I can already tell it will feel different than playing an Eldritch Knight. I do like the psychic fighter is just like, I don't have to worry about spell slots. I don't feel like I'm a half mage or a quarter mage, wizard or anything like that. Like this is what I do. No one else can do it. Yeah. That's cool to me.
Yeah.
Certainly the Eldritch Knight can like bounce around and stuff, and it's very Thor in some ways. But this is the fight. Like Rune Knight and this are very, very strong. I don't think this is more powerful than the Rune Knight by any means. I think it's very focused, and I think it's lovely. I can't wait to play one. I need to get into a weekly game. I'm gonna go crazy.
For real though, man.
Yeah, dude.
Stay sane. Play D&D.
Stay sane. Let's go into the rogue. This is Soulknife is existed before. Always a cool name for rogue, particularly a psionic rogue.
Oh yeah.
It's also the subclass of, I would say, a serial killer. When I thought about it, because you should be on a watch list, because as it was explained to me by Jeremy Crawford, what the creepiest thing is, as he said, is that it leaves no physical damage.
Right.
It's a psychic blade.
It's a psychic blade.
If you kill someone with this,
they'll never know.
They don't know.
Yeah.
And that provoked, like, what happens when you start finding bodies in D&D that have apparently died of natural causes?
Yeah.
Like what do you do then?
Right. That they didn't see their attacker. They don't know what killed them.
No.
It just is, here's a dead body. What are you gonna do?
It's the most assassiny assassin. And I think some people who are looking at the mechanics of the Soul Knife are missing out on the role play aspect of, wow, no one knows how you killed that dude.
Right. Yeah. Especially if it's if you play up the fact that you can, like, eventually you're able to, like, conceal yourselves conceal yourself from people's perceptions.
That's when things get really
really
upsetting.
So you hit them with a rend mind later on.
You get psychic blade at 3rd level. This is kind of like having your own shadow blade, and in many ways you can obviously, it pairs well with your sneak attack, very well with your sneak attack. You can throw them. You can really be kind of like the knife thrower with this, I would say, actually.
Oh yeah.
And it takes a bonus action, so it works out rather nicely. I mean, you got some bonus action management to do, but
there's your bonus action is their dance card's full. There's a lot that they got going on, right? So it's but at the same time, like, you can have these, there's no limit to how often you can pull them. You can use them. They're just they're just a part of you. And so you might miss a round or two wish you had a different bonus action, but I don't know how much of it come up that.
Yeah. They also get the psionic enhancement.
Yes.
You can communicate telepathically to any creature you can see within 30 feet of you. You can increase your walking speed by 5 feet, or your hit points maximum can go up as well. And
yes.
It's not all three of these. It's what you have to choose.
It's like the fighter version, psychic armament or psionic armament. Yeah. I think to me, telepathy 30 feet is a little limited. It might be useful for information gathering in a tavern or something like that, or if you need to have a clandestine conversation with someone.
That's how I felt it was. Yeah. Well, preparing for that kind of attack, or hey, make a distraction. Yeah. And then you stab the dude in the back, and then you walk away, and no one knows why that dude fell. Yeah, that's this play a soul. If you have a target, I don't know if you're playing a bunch of murder hobos or whatever, but if you're a soul knife in a crowd, Assassin's Creed style, who's gonna be like, that guy looks like he's a psychic?
That's the best part of psychic, though, right? That's always what I love, because the distinction is to do magic in D&D, you got to dance around, wave your arms, say a bunch of magic words. It's kind of goofy on purpose.
Yeah.
And it's, to me, that's what makes it D&D magic, is if my wizard is in a dress doing a stupid dance, then it's D&D.
yeah.
And then psionics is just, I'm having a beer at the tavern and you don't know that I'm controlling that guy and lifting this chair up, and that's the terror of it. I do think the 5 feet, I see someone in chats talking about it as well. I think I'm struggling to find a class maybe one of those that gets a wood elf or something that gets an extra. Yeah. Gets extra.
You've already at 35 feet, and then you move it to 40 feet.
Yeah. I can see that being a very
it creates an odd number. Number.
If anything, I think it'd be cool to get climb speed or something like that even. But that's a bit more than just 5 foot of movement.
Yeah, that's true. So now we got. Yeah, it's good. Terrifying Blade. Your psychic blades can now stoke terror within a target. When you damage a creature with your psychic blade, they have to make a wisdom saving throw versus your intelligence. On a failed save, they become frightened of you until the start of your turn. This is great. If they're frightened, you get advantage. Yeah. So and they have disadvantage against you, correct? That's right. Yeah. That's how
if you're sort of attacking.
Yeah. I thought it's good. I feel like that's good.
It's good.
I see people saying that this subclass is weak, and I'm like, I don't know. I think for the campaign that you're playing this for, it's really horrifying.
Yeah. It's I think it's situational, right? There's a part of it where if most of this is all undone with a single spell. If your target has mind blank on for any reason, you're SOL. And so there's that kind of weakness, but we're talking high level D&D and stuff. But
even from DM choices, you hit it. If you're frightened, I always think, well, that frightened person probably isn't going to attack that character now.
Yeah.
It doesn't explicitly say that, and that's what the disadvantage is for. So it doesn't. Sure. But if it's okay, well, I have disadvantage against you, I'm going to attack somebody else.
And if you're dual wielding, the fact that it's sort of unlimited means that if you are dual wielding, you can sort of tag someone else. You might not be getting the sneak attack, but you can still take this terrifying blade. As long as they don't fail, as long as they keep failing their save, they're still frightened of you. So I think it's sort of it's a weak kind of crowd control, but the fact that you can do it all the time. And that, especially if you find a way to pair this up with someone who's using, Mind Thrust, one of the spells, which would give them disadvantage on a save.
Yeah. Well, Mind Splinter.
Mind Splinters. Things like that. So that's how I would, I think it works in conjunction with things like that.
Yeah. You can see the psychic group coming together and quite vicious. 13th level, you can weave a veil of psychic static to mask your physical presence. This is super scary. 13th level, you become invisible. be interesting. This came online a little bit earlier, maybe, but that might be just too overpowered. Really, for a rogue to go invisible at all is terrifying.
Sure, and it's not like the sort of static invisibility that, say, whatever the warlock invocation is that lets them go invisible if they're basically. I do wish it, but then again, I think it's sort of like having played a rogue up to like 15th level. There is a big stretch where between 3 and 9. Where you're getting rogue abilities, but like they're not your subclass features. And so it can kind of feel, I don't know, dry, I guess, but then you get all these really cool ones at the back. I like this one.
Rogue in general is really cool. Rogue is so powerful, okay, as a class.
Right. You're getting all this on top of everything else, on top of the fact that you're probably beating everything's perception score in the monster manual. You know, like you're still a rogue. So
it had the least amount of tweaks in the previous Unearthed Arcana, and there's a reason for that. Like rogue is just overwhelmingly powerful. It's, I would say, the most powerful.
Yeah,
long term for a D&D campaign, you can kind of do everything.
Sure, if you consider like an entire full campaign, then I could see that certainly.
Yeah, I mean, you can't heal yourself. Thank God for that.
Find a way.
Yeah. I mean, just take a feat.
Right. Yeah. Take my magic initiative. Give me that cure wounds, baby.
Yeah. Or threaten somebody.
Get your herbalism kit.
Walk us through Rend Mind. Oh, one of my favorite characters is named Rend that I play. Yeah. So, Rend the Warforged.
So this is
that's what he does.
He tears things in half.
Yeah.
Rend Mind is one of these like attack powers, 30-foot range, force your target to make an int save. And let me make sure I've got the actual wording right, because if I recall, this one is like pretty much equal to your sneak attack damage. 12. So the target would take 12d6 psychic damage and is stunned. That's if they fail their save.
Layers with psychic veil, by the way.
Yes, because if you are hidden from the target, which means that you would have to be invisible and hiding, which is splitting hairs, but it is a distinction.
Yeah, that's
true. On failed save takes the target on a successful save, they take half damage, isn't stunned, and it also uses up one of your psychic blades, and use this feature a number of times equal to intelligence and regaining them all on a long rest. So yeah, I mean,
yeah. You're one-shotting people. It's a lot. I mean, I like that it pairs well with Psychic Veil. Obviously, it's rough, man. I don't feel this is underpowered. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, like, number one, it's not an attack, so it can't crit, right? Like, you're not making an attack against them, but you are targeting a fairly weak save. Like, I just went and looked last night while I was reading it, and there's like 4 pages in the D&D Beyond database of monsters with saving throw proficiency, and most of them are the ones you would expect, like aboleths and casters and the like.
Lich, like you're not like
right.
Well, why are you trying to rend the mind of a lich?
Right. Yeah. Don't even do that. Just let the barbarian just pulverize it into dust.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, it's
let the psychic warrior just knock it around the room into a lava pit. Then you can't counterspell any of that.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, and it's psychic damage. Like I said, these are specialized classes. Like, they're not fit for every campaign necessarily. They're not like champion and thief and life cleric and things like that are very generic and meant to fit into a lot of different campaigns. But for the kind of campaign where you would want to play this character, and I've got players who all you have to do is hint that there's going to be a psychic weapon that comes out of their body somewhere, and they'll jump all over it. This would deliver for them. This is what they would want. I want a knife that comes out of my hand made of psychic energy, and I want to mess people up with it.
Yeah.
And like, that's what it needs to do.
Yeah. I love the flavor. I love the creepiness. Again, no one can tell that you did any damage to the target. I mean, you're just walking through it. Like, this is a very assassin-y assassin.
It's very assassin-y. Yeah. Yeah. I like playing an assassin just because I like rolling big buckets of dice. But I'd be hard pressed if I was looking at this to either. It's like, all right, and this isn't even factoring in Whisper Bard, right? Because we're not even going to try to mix that thing up. Some Soulknife Whisper Bard monstrosity.
Yeah, so you see, you were playing a whole different campaign. Yeah, these two together are just like No.
Yeah.
No.
But in the same party, they are a combo that can really lay on the hurt.
It's like a Tom Waitian Eldritch horror game. Which I'm not supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah. I do play a Tom Waits bard. Named Marv because no reason. You know, what I also like about this, and to your point, like, you play this and no one would know what you are. Like, no one needs to know.
You know,
that you're a soul knife. Like, like, can they actually? Does it describe what the psychic energy looks like, or does it even exist?
I don't think it's ever really specified.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I mean, even if there's still a knife,
a shimmering psychic power. So I would assume.
Okay, so it's a shimmering power, but like you could be like a switchblade.
Sure.
And you're just like walking through the crowd, and you are dressed as like the local blacksmith or something. Right. No one knows what you are.
Yeah.
And you can dropping,
and you can dismiss it at any time. So it's like,
yeah, you're just like a villager. No one knows. Like, who searched that guy for his psychic weapon? Like, it's not going to happen. Like, this is super creepy. That's great.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah. No, it's really great.
All right, so this brings us. Well, let me look at a few questions because I'm sure we got a few hundred. Question: after all the attempts, why do you think they won't at least try a point-based system for a psionic system? I can tell you the answer right now. It does exist in the DM's guide. The DM's guide has a point-based system for all spells. Yeah. I've actually meddled with it. I'm fine with it. If you want to use that for your campaign, that will solve your issue when it comes to being a point-based system for any kind of spellcaster.
Yeah.
So if that is your issue with what we're about to talk about, the Psionics Wizard, then it's going to work out fantastic. Let's see. This UA is Darth Vader, Dr. Manahan, but who is the rogue based on?
Psylocke
from X-Men. Yeah.
That's what I would
say. That Lamont Cranston as the stranger, the shadow from the old radio drama, call. And I had one film, because he walked into a room and he convinced everyone he was invisible.
Oh yeah.
So I can see that kind of thing in there as well, and anything where someone has like a blade pop out of nowhere. I mean, really. Even Doctor Strange, they create that kind of knife, right? That psionic knife, essentially.
You can
get into
that.
a knife fight with those. That's like one of the main weapons being used that entire film. I don't remember seeing a ton in the comics, but certainly I think that's well represented in Doctor Strange. So, I could see those as acolytes. Right.
Yeah. Certainly.
Where the head villain is actually, a psionic wizard, and then he's got all these psionic rogues that are backing him up. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good call on Doctor Strange, because that was like the first thing that when I saw that there was a wizard psionic class, that's when I jumped to. So it's like, I've been wanting a very specific wizard experience.
Yes.
And it is very much informed by that movie, as well as, sort of like real life esoteric traditions that don't make quite so much a distinction between magic and psychic power,
Yeah.
And I like the psionicist for this.
Here's a great question. Synth25 asks, how would you handle multi-classing a psionic subclass with a caster class?
Ooh.
Well, all of these psionic classes, there's no issue. So, the wizard and the sorcerer, it's just the same rules. I don't see any. I see this as still more elegant, because imagine if the psionicist was a separate class all to itself in a different point system and everything else. Then it gets super confusing to multi-class.
Yeah.
And not advantageous.
Yeah, right. I would, speaking on just like the class system and how they would fold psionics into it, I've in so many editions of D&D that I've played, when they add psionics, because it has its own separate spells, its own separate system, it's sometimes its own separate rule book. Maybe it gets bought and one person really gets into it, but it doesn't get incorporated into the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And I think by choosing, instead of we're not going to do a whole big its own system, we're going to bolt it to subclasses and these other existing classes, like it ensures people will play these psionic classes that you can incorporate these things into your game. And like I think in terms of like flavor, I would say that there's not like a conflict between psychic powers and magic. They're just two different ways of manipulating supernatural force.
I see that. I see every psionic subclass is almost having literally like an awakened mind, but twice. So
yeah,
you have an understanding of how the universe comes together, not through math and not through your bloodline, not by drawing magic from nature around you, and not from asking from a warlock patron or a god to give you its magic. You literally are just like, oh, I see super string theory. I'm just going to bring these things now, and that's how it's going to work. Yeah, that's very appealing to me, and that's just approaching magic from a different standpoint. There is an interesting point about Ren Mind when it comes to the rogue. It is a DC equal to 10 plus the proficiency bonus plus your intelligence modifier. Do you think this is on purpose? I would have to ask them that. I've not seen that before.
Yeah, I'd say it's a typo.
I'd say it's probably a typo, though. It would be fun if it wasn't.
Yeah, somebody had their mind on the other edition, which shall not be named PF.
Shall not be. So yeah, let's get into our psychic wizard. So this is the arcane tradition of psionics. And this is very much your Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
This is really cool. Your arcane focus is like a crystal or something like that. So already you're in that zone.
Can I have it be a helmet?
That's I want.
That's what I want, like a skull cap or a helmet.
Or like even Magneto, right? Like my helmet is my focus.
Yes.
That makes it very fun. And my spell book is inside my helmet, and I read it.
It's like a viewfinder.
That's just a blast shield. Like, I'm studying.
Yeah.
It's a good thing I'm not nearsighted.
Right.
Or farsighted. I always get this confused. Let's see. So you can, if your psionic focus is lost, you can magically create a problem. This is all good.
Yeah, basically go into what a psionic focus is. Crystal's probably the classic one. Is it a handheld object? Come on, that's what this is for. This makes it a handheld object.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So at second level, you get message or mage hand as cantrips. That makes a lot of sense. Obviously,
friends as well. Like this, have you been 5 years? You've been wanting to cast friends, but you didn't want the person afterwards to be mad at you.
Yeah.
Now you can cast it.
It's a very good point. Because charming people is a rough deal in D&D in general.
Yeah. I changed my friend spell in my homebrew, but I just have it grant persuasion proficiency.
Yeah, friends, mage hand, and message. Okay, we got some good flavor right at the beginning, and this is very much like these are not the droids you're looking for.
Yeah, these cover the classic like 3rd edition era psionic breakdowns, right? There's empath and or at least like the discipline of powers, right? Empath, telekineticist. I forget what the other one was. But it's I like these. They track with the abilities you get later on. Mostly, I just like anything that upgrades a cantrip. Like I'm down for anything that does that.
Oh yeah. Because it's a great place to start, and then at 6th level, you're getting that thought form.
Oh yes.
You can either look like dead Obi-Wan Kenobi, or you could be Doctor Strange when all his many arms suddenly appear.
Yes.
When you cast a spell in platform, you cast the spell psionically. If you do so, the spell doesn't require verbal, somatic, or material components that lack any gold cost. Psychic fireball, everybody. So.
Here I thought they were trying to steer us away from fireballs with their re-rolling force and psychic damage.
With thought form, you can cast the spell.
Oh, yeah.
Psionically. So this would be scary if you had resurrection and you weren't a wizard. But
I think the gold piece value negates that part.
Yeah.
But there's another one somewhere where you cast like a specific spell and you don't have to use it. But yeah, psionic spell casting is just like This is sort of Pruitt and I have this running debate about casters and who's going to win in a duel between them. And up until now, it's been a foregone conclusion that a subtle casting sorcerer is going to win that fight. And I think now we've finally got a contender. And this wizard's going to go all spirit form and can't counterspell him now. That's what I like about it.
I mean, they know that you're up to no good because you're in thought form.
Sure. Yeah.
My connection
absolutely
is stable. I'm back.
There you go.
So
yes, all
psychic
the magic missiles.
spellcasting is great. Psychic yeah, you can. Yeah, psychic magic missiles is fun. You gain resistance to psychic damage and bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, harsh words.
Yes.
Yeah, you're tough. You're tough. You're kind of tanky as a wizard suddenly. This is like the opposite of rage. This is control.
I was gonna say this reminds me of a caster rage, and like I'm trying to think. Like Blade Song is similar, but it doesn't boost your spell casting ability, right? It just makes you whatever. And
tries to get you to gish.
Sure, right.
tries to shove you in that direction.
It does a good job. And then like the Wildfire Druid summons like a pet that augments and gives them special powers and the like. But like, is this the first caster rage?
This is the Thinker's Rage.
Yeah, I love it because
And what's great is you're not really even angry. I mean, you're the opposite of rage. This is the opposite of rage.
Yes, and because it gives you all the same powers. Concentration, it means that you can really take advantage of that resilience or that resistance. Because I really don't like spells that grant resistance because I'm concentrating. I just don't want to take damage at all.
You wouldn't. Yeah. I mean, you're still tanking. But you wouldn't want to scrap anyways. I mean, if you did, you'd be scary with Shadow Blade. But come on, man, you should be casting other things than Psychic Blade.
Yeah.
That Shadow Blade, other than Shadow Blade, that's not that's not meant for you. So at 10th level, your mind powers expand to great heights. When you gain this feature, you choose one of the following spells: Dominate Person, Scrying, or Telekinesis. You can add the spell to your spell book. You can cast it without components.
Yes.
Again. Yeah. So you're kind of specializing here.
And it ties into the way that they've presented psionics in the monster manual, like you mentioned at the top of the show. It's like, that's how it's, if you've never peeked behind the screen, as it were, this is how psionic monsters are presented. They can cast these spells without any components. And so that means that the spell just manifests. There's no, there's just no nothing. It just happens. And so I really think that's, it's an elegant sort of way of making it different, right? Like you're still casting a spell, but to me, it's a more advanced form. You don't need the crutches. You don't need the words and the gestures. You just have a will.
Yeah.
That's why I love this one.
Let's see. We have a question. Are we reaching, or might we in the future, a point where we would need a counterspell equivalent for psionic abilities? Absolutely not. The reason for that is because a lot of classes have different abilities as part of their subclass that should not be counterspelled. So just because someone is doing a magical like effect does not mean that should be able to be counterspelled. There are other creatures that can like sprout wings and all kinds of other stuff. Counterspell is rough. I'm gonna tell you right now.
It's a spice to be used sparingly if you're the DM, and even if you're a player, because like it might be fun to completely shut down a fight with counterspells, but it's also not every time.
Counterspell off. Counterspell is great, and so is the spell magic, but it can also be problematic sometimes.
If it were me, I'd break it up into a bunch of different spells.
Yeah,
but that's why I homebrew.
Also at 10th level, though, you get extra psionic damage, psychic or force damage.
Yeah, I think they're really, really trying to push you away from just being like every other wizard. Because like my one my one sort of like about 5th edition wizards is that in my experience from both sides of the screen, they tend to have a homogenous spell list. Like there's sort of like the best in class spells that you take.
Yeah.
And so the fact that they're really pushing you of like, no, like most of these spells are single targets. They maybe do like, they have an effect on it, if they fail to save, but if they pass, it's just half damage. And so like the fact that you're getting more damage and can reroll ones for the psychic and force, like to me, it's like they're trying to get you to be a completely different wizard and see that your spell selection is just as important as your special abilities towards like giving that feel.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, there's someone asked in chat if they feel that there's so many subtle spell-like features here.
Mm-hmm.
Do we feel like the sorcerer is getting a raw deal? I don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like at this point, there's the lines have been blurred between sorcerer and wizard so much that,
and they have always been.
Yeah, it's sort of like, yeah, especially in 5th edition, right? Like wizards being spontaneous casters now, and
I think they're better about it now by giving you points to spend on features that do not include meta magic. So
Sure,
I
yeah.
feel like the Shadow Sorcerer is a really fantastic example. I think Aberrant Mind is another wonderful example of like using your points for something else. Like using your points to summon a Shadow Hound is so cool and it gives me something else to do. Sorcerers still get meta magic, and I don't feel like this encroaches upon that. And honestly, some people just want to play a psychic wizard, and and this is the answer. They,
yeah, it's the same. I like I said, I the other wizard classes like illusionist, I really like because I just always have. Blade singers are fun because I have fond memories of them. But this is the first one I'm like, I gotta play a wizard with this one.
Yeah, and in game design, listen, D&D starts off with these very archetypical, everyone can relate to subclasses.
Yeah.
You have the rogue thief, you have the fighter champion, you have the wizard evoker, you have the life domain cleric, and then you have some other, edge cases of like, arcane trickster is like wonderful and beautiful, and it's one of my favorite classes ever, subclasses ever made. It's perfect right out of the gate. But then you have things like Hexblade, and you've got these other things that kind of feel like either Gish rolls or different types of like, also still very iconic. And now we're getting to like the room's getting tighter, and now we're getting very specific. And I like the specificness, but inevitably you're going to step on the toes a little bit of other people as you're going throughout the years of design.
Sure,
we are 5 years into 5th edition.
Yeah, I mean,
and 5th edition, from my perspective, I don't think 5th edition is going to stop until it stops being popular.
Right, because that's the thing I see every time I read online. When is 6th edition? I don't know, when they stop having record-breaking sales.
Yeah,
which you know what I mean?
Like every month.
Yeah,
like
real quick. I see somebody. What is a gish? A gish is a
good point.
Yeah. My mind just completely went blank. It's a stand-in for like a fighter mage, referring specifically to Githyanki fighter mages who call themselves gish.
Yeah, like a Jedi. When you look at Darth Vader, Darth Vader is kind of like the Jedi are the kind of original Gish, or in that sense. I would actually argue, samurai in general, their ability to concentrate and just pull off like a crazy shot from a million miles away has a magical kind of spiritual focus on that. It's something ingrained in us, right? Like,
yeah. In the context of D&D, clerics are usually the first Gish because they're the first. They wear armor, they got spells.
Well, when Elf was a class.
Elf was a class for a while, yeah. Not an original, but eventually they did. But anyway, that's what a Gish is.
Yeah. The dream was like holding a sword and casting a spell.
Yeah,
like there's something iconic and crazy. Like it's your peanut butter and jelly.
Elven chain and all.
Elven chain, give me that elven chain. But not so hard to get nowadays, and no one asks for it anymore. But man, in 2nd edition, that was DMs were hounded. I hounded them.
Oh yes. I saw someone else was asking a question about spell selection for the psionic wizard, and I would almost go so far as to say that the psionic spells listed in here, I might put them in a separate list that is only available to psionic subclasses. You want these spells, you're going to have to be an Aberrant Mind or a psionicist, or get one of them to teach you this spell.
That is a change in design.
Yeah, and it sort of like changes the way wizard accesses everything. You might say like you can only take your free spells that you get off of this list,
right? And
then if you want the more traditional magic, you're just gonna have to go learn it from a book or something. So, but I wouldn't do that without consulting the player first.
Yeah,
that's one of those things that I'd be like, hey, you made this wizard. Like, I'm assuming you're going to take spells that are flavored for it. And personally, I have never had an issue with players who are playing themed casters who took off-theme spells.
Yeah.
Unless I gave them to him, unless like, here, take this spell or something. Yeah.
So wow.
Anyway,
we're running out of time as we always do.
Almost,
we're going to turn this into a 2-hour show, I swear to God. So your thought form gets even more powerful with thought travel. 14th level.
Finished.
No, we're not even finished. We can pass right through objects. It's really cool. That's it. No one's touching you as the wizard.
No one's touching you. You're ghostly, right?
You're doing the twin action from Matrix 2. Let us all forgive the Matrix Reloaded. And then we have this wonderful psionic spell list. What do you feel about these spells? How do you feel about these new spells? They're also feats. They are pretty low level. Like, hey, you can use Mage Hand, only it's invisible. I kind of want to only keep that for Arcane Trickster and honestly the Psychic Warrior. That's my only I'm jealous, and I don't want anyone else to have my fun. So but we got Ego Whip. We've got, which is his a mainstay. We've got Mental Barrier. We've got Mind Slivers included in this as well. Insinuation, Intellect Fortress, Mind Thrust. We've got Psionic Blast. Yes. I want to cast Psionic Blast. I want a Mind Flare, Psychic Crush, Thought Shield. These are all things you should have. I like these new spells quite a lot. I really like them. I like the synergy between something like Mind Sliver and Mind Thrust. The bonus action and an action cantrip. To me, there's not enough wizard combos like that that I can think of for others. But Insinuation is man, that's a strong first level spell. It's pretty. I like it. I love that they're using the old psychic attack modes for the spell names. That was one of my favorite things about second edition, was the fact that you had this whole other combat system that opened up when you went into psychic combat. So I like they're preserving that. Ego Whip looks like it would hurt, but a lot rides on that save. Yeah. And then I think my favorite one might be Intellect Fortress, just because it's like, all right, I got advantage on my saves and I can like give someone else a reroll. Yeah. Like that's a really strong defensive spell. It is concentration, but sure. They want to take you down. But again, it's like you're just like holding up that barrier. Yep. Putting your hands up. I love this Psychic Wizard. Honestly, I think this is just lovely. I whether you want to play Xavier or even not really Magneto, but it's not really it'd be tough to do a Magneto type, but you could reskin telekinetic type stuff. Yeah. Maybe increase the range if you have it only work on ferrous metals. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, my cat's exploded apparently. There's a new box in the house, and that's there's this big cardboard box, and they're like, how do we get inside this thing? I really like this UA. Again, the feats are really cool. Some people will always want to have a feat. I mean, if you are going to burn a feat, I get it. You want to be telepathic, but I feel like that does step on the toe. This is like kind of giving away some of like if there's other people's abilities to classes them like a telepathic barbarian is weird. Yeah, like I do think there are some things that get given out a lot, and like temporary hit points are one of those things where I feel like there's a lot of ways to get them. Telekinesis, or not telekinesis, but telepathy feels that way to me, where you could have a party that they all have some form of telepathy. There's my alarm. And that would be feats, classes, all that kind of thing. So it's wonderful. I love psionics. I do like this version of psionics quite a bit. I think this is also great for people who are new to D&D and 5th edition. It's accessible. It's not a whole new thing. I will say again, when I started since 1st edition. 2nd edition is when I got big into psionics, and I had like the Psionics Handbook. I love that book. I still read that book. That's how weird I am about psionics. But it was always overpowered, and it was always a fight to ask a dungeon master to learn another spellcasting system to accommodate your individual character. So it was almost like you had to govern yourself and DM yourself within games. And I'm gonna be honest, like in the way that magic items, in the way that paladins like force their perspective on the world, on everyone in the party, in that lawful good sense, like, okay, well, we're having this type of campaign now. There was an element of that with with psionics, where it's like, oh, now we have a psionic.
Yep.
I don't know what you're up to, man. Like, I don't know what you do at all. Like, I know what a rogue is. You're going to be like stretching your body. You're going to be walking through, like, you know,
got to have different spells to interact with your special abilities. You got to have a whole different. Yeah, it feels like a much more integrated approach. It feels like these classes will be played.
Yes,
it's not what came before, and that's okay.
Yeah,
there are workarounds for that, and I think if it gets the people who have a exciting concept they want, if it gets them playing the character they want to play, and that's really the goal.
And I feel, again, if you miss the whole point system, it is in the Dungeon Master's Guide. You can completely recreate that experience. Someone just asked, how big of a cardboard box would a tabaxi need? I am telling you right now, it's about the size of a Pilates machine. So all right, that's all the time we have for Todd Talks. Thanks for talking about psionics. I really like it. I know people are going to be angry at me. Some people who are like, of the good old days,
sure,
of Ready, but I disagree. So but
they can not have fun as much as they want. It's their choice.
It's all right. It's all right. Mr. Jim Davis, be sure to check out WebDM. WebDM is an excellent source of all kinds of lore about D&D. I was just recently watching their video about the planes, different planes of existence. It's a very good deep dive into that kind of thing if you are so inclined. They also have a wonderful Patreon, and they're often in different role-playing games being live streamed here and there, and you should watch all of them.
Oh, yes.
As you can tell, Jim Davis is an expert, and it's great to pick his brain live on television. So,
always a pleasure.
All right. Well, I'll see you again when they do this to us again. Dan Dillon, Jerry Crawford, Petra.
Bring
Solar.
it.
I feel like there's more coming. I don't know. But yes. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Have a great one.